All right. So, welcome everyone. We're going to talk about the ultimate buyer consultation. And so, the model that we're looking over today is from a mega agent inside of our ecosystem. And this is from Carrie Hindorn, and she's from Springfield, Missouri. And what Carrie has done is over her successful career, she's represented more than 2,000 buyers. And out of that 2,000 buyers in 2022 alone, she represented 230. So 230 buyers. And she attributes a lot of her success through how she sets them up, right? From the very start, like how she goes from and does this ultimate buyer intake consultation. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 9 steps. And so we're going to go through 9 steps today on what I want you guys to be thinking about. Is it implemented? I'm going to show you a little bit inside the command because we obviously have the ability for these buyer presentations and going through and seeing like what this looks like. So the very first thing that Carrie does is this LP Mama, right? What she does is she just has this framework. It is a conversation where she's talking about location, price, motivation, the agent, around the mortgage, and the appointment. All right. So it's called the LP Mama, and that is step number one. So if we were to kind of look at this thing, placing it out, I have a version of it right here, and I'm going to enlarge this. And I'm going to turn this into just the single page view. There it goes. So what it looks like is this. It says, what's the one thing that has happened to make that dream scenario a reality, right? Like they're having them visualize their dream home is what she is going through and doing with this person. She's going through and she's talking about like what does the location look like? Why is that important, right? This big motivation piece. Again, so LP Mama, location, price, motivation, the agent, the mortgage, the appointment. She's going through all of these different things with these people because this is the thing that we need to keep in mind. None of us on this call are good enough to talk someone into spending $600,000. All right, none of us. And our job is to have conversations with people to see what is driving them to have the initial conversation with us, and then to guide them through the conversation through what they are thinking, their motivations, what are the pros, what are the cons, right? We take them through this needs analysis, the quadrants, right? And we're just taking them from where they think that they are in a future of positivity. We just take them through there so that we can actually show them how we can make sure that where they get to is where they want to be in their new home, because a lot of things are going through, right? We have to keep in mind that the news is portraying a lot of bad stuff, YouTube, CNN, Fox, Twitter, insert wherever, right? Because at the end of the day, bad things sell, and it's clickbait. Is the crash coming? Is there going to be a recession? And guess what, guys? This is the thing. Like in all reality, there probably is going to be a recession next year. Like in all reality, that's real. Now, this is the thing. We don't know what that recession is going to look like. And we don't know what it's going to look like because we've been seeing some weird things happening. And even though the federal government has been raising rates, Americans are still spending money. And it is the wildest thing. And no one knows why this is still happening. And there's a lot of people are like, whoa, well, they got a lot of money during the pandemic. And so now they're spending it. And a lot of people are like, no, they're really just putting it on credit cards because we have some of the highest credit card debt that we've ever had as a country right now. But no one knows why Americans are still spending the amount of money that they are. They're still going out and buying houses. Yes, it is slowing down. Our inventory levels are as low as they've ever been, like pre 1996 levels at this point, which is unheard of. But as we're going through, that's step number one. We need to figure out their location. Where do they want to move to? Arvada, whatever. And this is the thing, guys. I would tell you this. It sounds like, oh, I don't know. Anywhere between Fort Collins and Colorado Springs, I'm probably going to send them out on a weekend without me. I'm going to be like, well, hey, do me a favor. Do me a favor. And would you mind taking the weekend to kind of just drive around some of the neighborhoods, some of the areas that interest you? And then we can actually dive in a little bit deeper. I can actually take you into some of those houses. So if someone gives you a very wide location of where they're interested in purchasing, send them out there, give them some homework to do some driving and to kind of figure out what they truly want that to look like. The second thing is price. Going through and figuring out what their price is and figuring out why that's important to them, right? There are going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, 500, 600,000, 300,000, whatever. And this is the thing. Most people do not make a decision off of price. Most people do not make a decision off of interest rates. They make a decision off of their monthly payment. All right. So we're going through and we're figuring out the price, and really the price boils down to the monthly payment, what they're comfortable, because a lot of people can actually go through and they can afford a bigger home. And it's the price per month that is actually slowing them down. Again, we go back to their motivation. Hey, why are you looking to buy a house? Oh, well, we're going to be having a baby, or both of us are working from home and we need extra space because we only have one place to use as an office. They're going to go through and you're going to do a wish list. We're going to go through the wish list with them. We have a dog and it's not fair that the dog doesn't have a yard, or I'm tired of taking the dog for a walk and so I want to give the dog a yard, right? Like we got to figure out what their motivation is, because we can always go back to that. Agent, you're going to talk about yourself a little bit, right? You're going to go through and you're going to say, hey, this is what I do. This is, my job. I'm a full-time real estate agent. I'm a part-time real estate agent, whatever that looks like. Let's let them know. Go through the mortgage process a little bit with them. There's some pages around that, and going through where we're going to just answer more stuff. This is the buyer DNA form where we're going to LP Mama. Again, location, price, motivation, the agent yourself, the mortgage, and the appointment. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through the buyer DNA. All right. So a couple things. How and who do I contact, right? You're going to go through, you're going to ask them, like, what is your favorite way to receive information? Do they want to be emailed? Do they want to be called? Do they want to be text? Like, you want to figure this stuff out, guys. And this is very important. I think this is where a lot of us screw up, is that we're just assuming, like, I like to be text message, so everyone likes to be text message. There's people out there that they actually just use Instagram Messenger. They use Facebook Messenger. They prefer video message, right? So figuring out how your client wants to be communicated to is going to be huge. Then go through and just figure out the best type of day to reach out to them. Are they a morning person? Is it an afternoon person? Are they evening? Just contact me anytime. Like, figure out when, and figuring out, like, oh no, they're going to tell you, like, no, I have a full-time job. I go to lunch at this point. I put down the kid for their nap and I can do, right, whatever that looks like, figure out what that is. And then ask them, like, when they want to be updated. Because this is the thing. I think a lot of agents, what they do is they put someone on a search and they set it and they forget it. And they're just like, hey, my clients will reach out to me when they're ready and when they see a house that works for them. And guys, this is the thing. Like, this is an audition for you. You might know this person and this thing is in the bag, but go through and do this, because what's going to happen is you're going to create such an experience, an event out of this thing, to where someone's going to mention real estate. They're going to be thinking about you. Go through the process and just figuring out when they want to be communicated to, how they want to be communicated to, and how often, what's the frequency. Because these are all things that we can control, and they tell us what they want, and then we perform. They know that we're listening, and we're going to get brownie points out of it, right? Then you're going to go through a part of this buyer DNA form, and you're going to go figure out their wish list. What are the non-negotiables? There's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I want a ranch house. I want a 2-story house. We got to have a garage. It's got to be an attached garage. It's got to be a 3-car garage, right? Awesome. What's important about that, guys? And this is what you need to know. What's important about that? If I'm going to go through and they say, no, we need a 3-bedroom house. And I say, what's important about that? And they say, well, hey, we need, 1 bedroom, the kids need a bedroom, and we need a place for our study, or a workout room, or a yoga room, like whatever that looks like. And you're like, awesome. Well, if we were able to find a 2-bedroom house with a den or with a study, would that work? And they'd be like, you know what? I didn't think about that. Absolutely. Because they're just making do with whatever they have going on right now. And that's the world that they're used to. So figuring out what is their non-negotiables, what are they looking for, and why that's important to them is going to be big because there might not be a house that fits their criteria on paper. But then as you dive into it a little bit more, you're like, oh no, this is exactly what you're looking for. Do they have any other stuff? Like, what's the moving condition? You're going to go through a little bit more. The exterior, what type of home are you looking for? Is it a condo? The square footage, like just figure out what this is. If they have a particular lot size, is there a particular house style that they super hate? Are they looking for a deck, a porch? You're just going through and you are writing everything down. Now, here's the thing. I want everyone to keep in mind that what we're looking at is the consultation that we're actually handing over to our client, right? They're going to get this thing. We're going to hand this to them as we're sitting across the dining room table, or if we're at Starbucks, or at the brokerage, whatever that looks like. So you're going to want to have all these pieces, these questions, probably on a Google Doc, so that you're either like taking notes or you're writing it down. And this is the thing. I would actually recommend you guys write it down on via pen and paper, because you're actually showing them that you're listening and that you're taking notes and that what they're saying is valid and that you care and that it's not just a waste of their time. So have all these questions actually on the piece of paper and be writing it down. What's important about that? Just you're having this is going to help you go and put the search in the MLS later. It's going to show a connection because you're actually listening to them, and is going to have a reference point for you to go back to. Right, again, it's going to go how many bathrooms, why that's important, how many bedrooms, what's important. Do you need to have an owner's suite, a primary bedroom, right? What kind of kitchen preference do you have? All these different things are super important, right? It keeps going further. It says the living room, what size? Do you prefer the living room to be separated for different purposes, right? There's some people that want that thing closed off. There's some people that want it open. Do you want a fireplace, right? If we were to ask Debbie, does the house have to have a fireplace? Yeah, because Debbie's doing 6 months out of the year, she's doing her work from a fireplace. And she laughs from the other room. I knew she was in here. So, but that's what we're doing, right? We're going through and figuring out why and what's important to them. And then we're probably going to ask them about their neighborhood preference. Again, if they give you a bigger area and you sent them out to go hunt and to kind of do some of that legwork, it's going to make this a little bit easier. And then you want to know, like, awesome, where do you work? Is this commute going to be an easy commute for you? If they have children, where are the kids going to go to school? You know, what are your favorite places to shop? Like, you're going through and you're listening very intently to what they have going on. What other considerations should I be aware of to help you find your ideal neighborhood? So guys, that's the buyer DNA form, right? That's step number 2. We went through, we talked about location, price, the agent, yourself, like the motivations. And then now we moved on to the DNA form where we went through, we got contact information, personal information. We're talking a little bit about financing in here a little bit, and their wish list. The wish list is the big thing. The third thing that we're going to do, guys, is the meet you or the team. So I actually pulled those pages out. But inside of our system right now, we have a meet me. This is the thing. If you're not a seasoned agent with a bunch of sales, pull that stuff out. Like, you don't need to keep this on the page, but have it. Like, are you a Colorado native? How long have you lived in Colorado? What have you done that makes you qualified to help somebody? Put this information in there. Just give them a little bit about you. Now, you want to have that connection with them. Going through and putting it in there. The other thing is, if you have a team, and I don't mean like who is going to do some of these things for you, but who is your transaction coordinator? Do you have a transaction coordinator? And say why that transaction coordinator is important. Hey, so-and-so is my transaction coordinator. And why that's important to you is because there is going to be a lot of paperwork through this process. And the transaction coordinator is going to make sure that we stay on track. Is at no cost to you. And it's just a little incentive, a little something extra that I like to give to my clients, a benefit, so that they know that nothing's going to be missed in the transaction process, because there's going to be a lot of moving pieces here and I don't want anything to get lost. Do you have a preferred lender? Do you have a preferred insurance company, right? And this is the thing, guys. You guys all went through real estate school, and you're probably thinking this is city work, right? You're like, oh no, we got to have 3 bids. This is my thought on it. If someone's giving me, 3 different insurance companies, and they're like, here are all my people, call one of them, they're all great. Do you really feel like they're all great at that point? So what I would say is this: you guys have all had conversations with David. You've all had conversations with Mitch. I'd probably put them on this piece of paper. Here is my preferred lender. Here is my preferred insurance agent, right? And you're going through and you're putting your people down. Those people are actually going to be there. They're going to have a face. And this is the thing, it's going to create trust. I see people that are putting 3 or giving 3 names, and this is what it tells me, that we don't actually trust any of those people, and we're afraid that one of them's going to screw up, and then we're going to catch a lawsuit, and we're like, oh, no, I didn't recommend one person. I gave them 3 names. What's the thing, guys? If you're having coffee with these people, you're sitting down, you're having a meeting, you feel comfortable with what they're doing, put them down there. Like, if you know that the products that they have, the services they give are to your expectations, run with it. Put it on there. It's going to make you look like a professional. But don't just go pick someone random out of Craigslist and throw them on there. That is actually how you're going to get sued, right? That's how you're going to take your E&O insurance and test it. So that's step number 3. It's you and your team, put it in there. It's going to show that your organization has power, that you are on a personal level with these people. Like, you might have your handyman, right? Like, hey, also, I just want to let you know that we actually have a handyman that's on my team, to where I know that if anything is going on with the house or there's any fixes that we need to have that we don't think that the seller's going to fix, this is my handyman. They're going to get out there. You don't have to pay for it, guys. This is the thing. Like, you're not saying that you're going to pay for it, but your handyman can go out there and kind of take a look and reach out to him. And it could be like, and hey, my handyman's going to reach out to you within 7 days after you closing to see if there's anything that you need them to do. Guys, we're providing these services. This is the thing. This is an audition, not to take this listing, but everything that you're doing, this is for the next person, because the person that you're doing this for is going to be like, they were super awesome. They're going to tell stories about you to their people, and you're going to get more business out of this. Then we go through, the next one is the flow chart, right? So step number 4 is the flow chart. And it's that every buyer sale has steps. And the steps that we're going to look at, let me go over to it. Page 15. And guys, you have access to this. This is in command. You can pull most of this out there. A lot of this you do not have to create. There is some that you will create. I'm going to show you some of those. But here it is. Like, you partner with the agent. They're going to give you the insights. They're going to get you access to properties. They're going to review market strategies with you, the needs assessment. Next part is we're going to get pre-approved if you haven't been pre-approved. Also, here's my preferred lender. We're going to find you the home. I'm going to help you negotiate when we're under contract, guys. And this is the thing. You are showing why you have value. This is big, and this is just going to get bigger, guys. If anyone's been paying attention to Coffee Talk, and I know Margaret carried this conversation on Monday into group coaching, and if you've been reading anything on Inman or Housing Wire, RIS Media, anything that is real estate related, you know there's a commission lawsuit going on right now. You know that all the big companies got pulled into this thing. You know, KW got pulled in. You know, Berkshire got pulled in. You know, Remax got pulled in. You know, Anywhere, which is many different homes or many different brokerages got pulled into this thing. And so you need to show your value. And if you come to the table saying, like, these are all the different things that are going on in the transaction, and I'm here to help you through these, there's other agents. There are lazy agents out there not doing this thing. This is going to separate you from the amateurs. This is your time to shine. Like, if you go through and you have this thing, and then you pick how you're doing the cadence and walking them through. And again, this is a proven model, guys. This person that did this did 230 deals last year alone. And last year was not an easy time, right? We had the quickest interest rate rise that we ever had in our industry, ever. and they did 230 deals, and they attribute the success to this because it's repeat and referral business that they're getting as soon as they walk in and running this play. So you're going through and you're hitting them. Then you're going through, here's the finance piece. We'll talk about that here in a second. But you're going in and you're letting them through what the steps are and how you're going to help them navigate through the entire thing. And again, you're leaving this with them. This is going to be a reminder. That's the flow chart. The flow chart is the steps broken down. And when you have this discussion, it's going to provide a full perspective to your buyer on the process they are about to go through. You are setting them up for success, and you're letting them know there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. I know this. I know you don't know it, and I'm going to help you navigate through this. And there's a lot of stuff. The next one, guys, is, why you should work with a buyer's agent. Now, this isn't in here really right now. So I went through and I put together this. And it's like this, like why you should work with a buyer agent. Firstly, it's local expertise. And it goes through its local knowledge, its market trends, access to exclusive listings. Like I have in my brokerage at times, brokerage exclusive listings that the seller has requested that our listing agents actually don't put it out to the general public. And so if one of those houses meets your needs, I will get you in there. Negotiation experts, like I am a negotiation tactician and I am here to help you get the price and terms that you want. You're going through professional network, right? You have the handyman, you have the electrician, you have the plumber, the inspector, the insurance agent, the lender. Yeah, guess what? I know that you can Google all of these people, but guess what? I've actually done business with them. I know them personally. I know they haven't let anybody down. And I know that what their availability looks like. You have the network. Time and stress savings, right? Like you're going through and you're doing the stuff that needs to be done, and you're letting your client know when they actually need to pick up the ball and run with it a little bit, and they're not having to guess on other things. Like they have a job, right? Like those people are working 9 to 5. They might be working some other hours, but they're actually going out and making money to afford this house. They don't have time to do this. This is what you get paid to do. And you're letting them know, like, hey, I'm going to be taking a lot off your plate. I know that you have stuff to do. You have work, you have kids, you have whatever. And I am going to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. I'm going to be that safety net. Objective advice. We know this is a very, very emotional decision. And guess what? At the end of the day, I'm going to be the one that's going to help you guide through this thing and to help make sure that you're doing this because it makes sense for you and your family down the road, and that this is a decision that is going to make sure that you are doing what needs to be done, and that we know that emotions are going to flare up at times because this is a very, very emotional decision, because this is one of the largest financial decisions that most people make in their lifetime. And I'm going to make sure that I help you stay center as much as possible through this transaction. Obviously, guys, through Conway Bogue, we know this. We have a better understanding of contracts and legalities, right? Like as we're going through this thing, we understand what happens with earnest money. We understand what happens if we miss a date and deadline. We understand all these things. We can help them negotiate through the contract and how to navigate through this. This is a big piece that the general public doesn't have. And we're going to talk about the last step here, number 9, right? We're only on number 5 right now. But number 9 is actually getting the buyer agency agreement signed. And this is the thing, like you're going to show the buyer agency agreement. You might even bring the sellers, you might even bring the contract to buy and sell there. And you're like, hey, this is the thing. I'm here to help you understand. I understand the contracts. I'm going to help you navigate it. And you're going to bring the contract, right? Like all of it. You're going to bring like the lead-based paint. You're going to bring the CBS. You're going to bring the inspection objection, the inspection termination. Like you're going to have a stack of paper, right? Like our documents are thick in Colorado. And you're going to bring it. You're going to be like, hey, I'm going to actually help you navigate through all this so that you're not having to Google different stuff and just fail forward. Like, I understand this paperwork. I'm going to make sure you get through this transaction. Market knowledge, like you have access. You understand how to do a CMA. You understand how to look through and see like what houses are selling for. You're not basing your information off of Zillow. which what the general public's doing. And so that is something that you're going to be going through and be like, I have access to market data that is based off of what is happening in our current economic environment in the industry. And I'm going to be able to help you make sure that you are spending a dollar amount that makes sense for what other homes in the area are selling for. You're going to be able to help them guide through the home inspection process, right? Like you're going through this thing. You're not going to sway the home inspector because you can't do that, but you're going to be able to help your client interpret what the home inspector said and then what's important to your client and put it on paper to send the inspection objection. And guys, this is the biggest thing, and we're going to talk about this, but like as we go through, you have to keep in mind you work for the buyer. That's the biggest thing, guys. If someone is going to a new build, the new build associate works for the new builder. They don't work for the buyer. They might make the buyer think they work for the buyer. Like, oh yeah, tell me everything that you're looking for. Let's put this in here. What upgrades do you want to do? Awesome. Like they're really personable, but guess who pays them? Guess who they work for? The buyer or the builder. And on the other side, on the listing side, right, the listing agent works for the seller. And so we need to make sure that our clients, the buyers, understand that those people have a fiduciary responsibility to someone else to get them the price they want, the terms that they want, and that we are going to represent them, the buyer, and get the price that they want and the terms that they want, and to make sure that they are taken care of. Like that is our job. So going through and having a page like this, I think is very, very important. It's not in here, like there's pieces of it here and there, but I would go through and I would say, like, here is why you want, this is why you should work with a buyer's agent. This is what I am going to do for you, which is what you're not going to get anywhere else. The next thing is number 6, guys, the hours of operation, right? You're going to want this somewhere. You actually might even put it in the very beginning of it, or you might put it at the end of this packet, this page right here. I don't have a screenshot of this or anything typed up, but you want to make sure that your clients know that you love how excited they are. You are excited to help them win. You are going to do everything in your power to get them in a home, but you also have a life. All right. Breathe through that. I know there's some of you on this call right now that you're like, oh my God, but if my client calls me at 7 o'clock and they want to go look at a house, I'm going to go show them. And this is the thing. If your life, if that's how you want to do it, I'm in no position to tell you to do otherwise. But as we're going through, be thinking about this. If you have kids' games, if you have something that is going on in your world, make sure to set the boundaries up front. Hey, so my calendar looks like this. Monday through Friday, I'm available to help you anywhere between 8 and 5 p.m. On the weekends, on Saturday, I am available from 8 to noon, right? Like you can dictate those times and put them on there. Set those boundaries and say, look, Sunday I'm closed. Like you are a business. Think about this, guys. You are no different than a doctor or a lawyer, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, you went to school, you have a degree in the ability to help people buy and sell real estate. This requires a license. A very small percentage of the population has a license to do what you guys do. I think the national, I think there's like 1.4 million real estate agents nationwide. In Colorado, I think it's like 40,000. I think it's a little bit less than 40,000. While that's a big number, considering what the population is relatively slow or relatively low. So as you're going through, set these standards in place to say, like, I'm available to help you during these times. These are my hours of operation. I'm always accessible. I might not always be available. So if you have something, send me a text message. If you send me a text message at 7 p.m., I'm going to respond the next day, starting at 8 a.m. in the order of which I received these messages, right? And just let them know. and go through, guys. It's okay. We're allowed to do this. All right. So here's the next one. I think this thing's interesting. I got two different pieces. So if I were to look at this, the next step is the 7 commandments. So if I were to look through here, here is some of them, right? Like, and it's around financing. And so this one's already created for you, right? It says, don't make large purchases using existing credit without first talking to your lender. Do not apply for or acquire any additional lines of credit, right? Like, make sure your people understand that they're excited, you're excited. But when they go to Kohl's and someone's like, hey, do you want to send or save $5 on that $50 purchase today by opening a Kohl's credit card, that they say no, right? Like, we're going through and we understand that if they open up a credit card, that could hurt them. They do not pay off, transfer, close credit card balances unless the lender instructs them to do so. Like, Mitch will tell you guys, like, Mitch will say, like, hey, it will actually be in your benefit if you pay this off. They don't change jobs first without talking to their lender. They do not co-sign for another person seeking to obtain a line of credit. And they do not pay off collections before they talk to their lender. Like, I went through and I created some of them, right? The 10 commandments is a thou shall not make large deposits without first checking with their lender. Thou shall not buy a new car. Thou shall not spend money you have saved for a down payment. Thou shall not change jobs. Thou shall not change banks. Thou shall not co-sign. Thou shall not omit debits or liabilities, right? Like, make sure your lender knows. Thou shall not originate any inquiries into their credit. Like, don't go pull a credit check on yourself. Thou shall not buy furniture on credit. Like, I know you're excited. After you close, go to the store and Sofa Mart or American Furniture Warehouse, go buy the furniture then, but wait till you close, for the love of God. Thou shall not use credit cards excessively. And this is the thing, guys, and here's like the pro tip. If someone doesn't use you as a real estate agent and they let you know that they're under contract for a house, congratulate them and tell them to reward themselves. They probably should go buy a new car before they close. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But right as we're doing these different things, this is how they can hurt themselves and potentially not get the deal. Like, I've heard horror stories about someone going under contract on a house, going to closing, and then someone looks out the window and says, oh my God, that's a nice car. And the buyer's like, yeah, I just bought that the other day. Oh my God, like, that is a big deal. That's how funding has to stop. And a title company, a reputable title company, is actually going to stop the sale from going through and make sure the lender knows this just happened. Make sure your people know, because I think just even when you go through and they're going through the line of Home Depot or Kohl's or whatever, and they're like, hey, if you open up a credit card, you'll save X amount of dollars today. Like, people think that's harmless. They're like, cool, but I saved money. Well, you also hurt yourself in the process. So we want to make sure that our people are educated up front, and you can be the savior before anything silly happens. So again, have the do's and the do nots ready for them. And that was the 10 commandments, right? Of what you should not do, because our people just didn't know. They don't know. Educate them. Number 8, the thing that we need to have is our mission and our promises, right? So we're going through and we need to have missions and promises. So here it goes, right? I promise to you, right? It's to serve the community as a leader, right? To always do the right thing. Like, we're going through to take care of your needs, to serve as your trusted expert. Like, just let them know what you have going on. Probably help them, let them know like what you're doing. Like, I participate in this thing called Red Day, where we give back to our community. Like, all these different things. If you do stuff, let them know what your commitment is and what you're doing for the community. And the bottom line, real estate's complicated, and that's why I'm here. Like, you're going through and letting them know you are their person, right? Here's my mission. Here's my promise. This is my, you can give them your big why, right? Let them know what your big why is, why you do what you do. Guys, some of you have powerful whys. Go through and put it on paper. Let them know. Be proud of that thing. Like, this is why I get up out of bed and do what I do every day. Yes, there's easier jobs, but I go out and win for my clients because I'm doing this for this reason. Put it on them, guys. It's going to establish more of an emotional bond between you two, and they're going to feel like you're super solid and that you have them. So that's your mission and your promise. The other thing is the loyalty agreement. Guys, so let's talk about the loyalty agreement, right? The loyalty agreement is the buyer representation agreement. You need to have the buyer agency docs signed. Whether you're doing a wet signature or you're bringing CTM and having it ready to rock and roll there, you need to have this document. It's more important than ever right now, especially with everything going on in our industry, right? Tuesday is when this they started the court case. We won't know the outcome for a couple weeks. And with that, you need to have the representation agreement signed. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to hand over documentation and say, please sign here. And the first thing I would say is this: no one on this call would go through and put a listing, put a sign in the yard, invite potential buyers to come look through without a signed listing agreement. No one in their right mind would do this. You know, like as you're going through, someone says, oh, I didn't realize that you were selling your house and you're working with so-and-so. And they're like, oh no, they're just listing my house. And they're like, what do you mean? Well, we didn't sign any paperwork or anything. None of you would ever do that. There's no world where you do that. Why are we doing it with buyers? And I think this is the thought. We're afraid that buyers are going to think that they're locked in with us, and if we don't do our job, they're going to want to fire us, and they're going to feel trapped and all this other stuff. So first and foremost, we need to let them know why it's important. Like, one of the things that I do is I make sure that they understand that I am an agent. I don't work as a transaction broker. I work as an agent. And with that, that means I'm allowed to give my opinion. I'm allowed to let the people know if I think that the house is worth the price point. If they ask me a question, I'm allowed to give them answers. That is a fiduciary responsibility. That means that they ask me to do something and they ask me to negotiate terms for them, I'm allowed to do that. Guys, that's agency law. If I don't have a signed agreement, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm breaking the law. You guys and I need you guys to realize that. If you don't have a signed agency agreement, by default, you're a transaction broker. No agency agreement, by default, you're a transaction broker, which means no fiduciary responsibility, no fiduciary relationship. I can't negotiate for you. I can't give you my opinion. I can't go out there and do battle for you and help you win. And I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, well, I can still do that, Charles, but you're breaking the law if you're doing that. It's called implied agency. That's an implied agency, and we're not allowed to do that, guys. And so having that conversation and letting them know why it's in their best interest to get this thing signed, I think it makes stuff a lot easier for everyone. So that's the only line item that I'm even going to hit them with. Like, I'm probably going to go over into that box and let them know like why it's in their best interest. And I'm probably going to have it highlighted. If I'm bringing a paper copy, I'm allowed to do this for you. I'm allowed to do this for you, and I'm allowed to do this for you. If I don't do any of this, yes, I can still go unlock doors for you. But if you ask me my opinion, I'm not allowed to give you my opinion. If you ask me for advice, I'm not allowed to give you any advice. If you ask me to go call the agent and to have a conversation with them and to see if they would do anything, I'm not allowed to do that, right? That's transaction brokerage versus agency. That's where I'm living. The second thing, like as we're going through, guys, that we have to keep in mind is with the commission lawsuit going on, we're starting to see agents or people paying $0 to buyer's agents. So we need to make sure that we're actually checking the correct boxes as well. And just because you don't have a signed agency agreement doesn't mean that you're not working for someone. Again, default in Colorado is transaction broker. So if you don't have a signed agency agreement, they tell you to go write a contract for them. and the people are not paying you any money, your buyer's not obligated to pay you anything because you don't have a signed agency agreement and the seller is paying $0. So you're working for free. And some of you are like, well, that might not be the worst thing, but here's where it gets bad. And I need everyone to realize this. It gets bad when the deal goes sideways and your client sues you or the other side sues you. Well, if you're not getting paid, you're not making any money on the deal, and you're getting sued, you're coming out of pocket with that money. Your E&O insurance, $2,500 is your deductible. So if you made $0 on the transaction, you've been driving these people around, you've been back and forth with the seller negotiating, you're wasting time. Maybe you skipped dinner one day with the family. Maybe you missed a kid's soccer game. Maybe you did something that you thought you were putting this person ahead of your family because you needed to do. And then you get sued, and the minimum that you had to pay was $2,500 out of your deductible. You're losing a lot of money and time on this. So, guys, the buyer agency agreement is super solid. You need to do it. And you get to pick how you do it. Maybe you're someone that gives one for free, right? And so I have seen this where someone's like, well, hey, my brokerage, and this is the thing, blame the brokerage. Always, 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 always blame the brokerage. And it's, hey, here's the thing. I can show you one house, no problem. Let's go look at the house. Let's go see what you like, this and that. But my brokerage requires me to have a signed agency agreement. Again, show them why. Like, these are all the things that I'm allowed to do for you. This is what I can't do for you if I don't have it. And say, my brokerage requires that I have a signed agency agreement with you for any house after the first house. And just go through there. And that's probably the easiest thing that you guys can do. If you don't want to take it and feel like you're taking the stance, blame us, blame the broker. Say, my brokerage will not allow me to do anything without an agreement. So, guys, that's the ultimate buyer consultation, right? Like, that is everything that we should be looking forward through. And here it is. Like, here is the actual plan. Like, we just went over it at a high level, but here it is right here. So Carrie, again, she did 2,000 deals as a buyer's agent. 230 of them came from 2022 alone. This LP mama, she went through, and this is one of the pages that she goes through: location, price, motivation, the agent, the mortgage, the appointment. Number 2 is the buyer DNA form, figuring out their contact information, personal information about them, their financing, their wish list, their motivations, finding out all of this stuff. Number 3, we're going through, and here's the team, or here's about me, and we're establishing that connection and why you want to work with me. Your TC, your lender, your title company, your handyman, all this stuff, put it on there. Your flow chart, right? We go through and we're saying, like, here is all the steps that happens in the process of buying a house. Step 5, why you should work with a buyer's agent. Going through and making sure that they understand everything that you are doing for them. And again, this is your full-time job. This is your job to help them do this. They get to do what they need to do, their family life, their business life. You're going to make sure that this transaction, their home, the largest financial decisions they are making in their lifetime, the place where they're going to raise their children, the place where they're going to go to sleep at night, the place where they're going to have their dinner, all this, you are going to make sure that that process goes as smooth as possible. Have your hours of operation, set those boundaries, let them know that just like any other professional, this is when you're available, this is when you're not available. And I promise, if you reach out to me outside of business hours, I will make sure to get back to you within the next day. You put together your 7 commandments, your 10 commandments, your whatever of what not to do. And guess what, guys? This is helpful. Like, people don't understand this. We've seen people get hurt here. Like, put these commandments in there and highlight them. Your mission statement, like your big why, the promises that you're going to make. You're building a relationship with these people. This is what's going to make them know you, like you, and trust you even more. And then the loyalty agreement. We have to have the buyer agent relationship, or the buyer agency agreement, in place, guys. So these are the 8 steps. And depending on how you do this, right? Because we just looked at the packet that is in command, which I actually think is super solid. Like just this whole thing that they have, like they even have commonly used terms in the back of this thing where APR, appraisal, what does equity mean, different loan types, prepaids, right? How to get in touch with me. Like all your information can be on this thing. And maybe you hand over the full packet, but you only really highlight those 9 items and the rest of it's sitting there. And guys, again, even if you know you have this thing in the bag, you're bringing this with you to every appointment to leave with them. And this is the thing, you don't know who else is walking through their house. You don't know who else is seeing this packet. And it's going to start other conversations. And those other conversations are going to lead to how was the service? And they're like, oh my God, like my agent did all this stuff. My agent walked me through the process. My agent had a handyman. My agent got me in touch with the lender. I didn't have a lender. My agent, all these different things. This is what's going to help you win, repeat, and referral business. And at the very least, what it's going to do is it's going to give you a cadence on how you're delivering your speech, right? How you're delivering your presentation. This is the presentation. This is the job interview. You're going through, you're coming in prepared. So what I would do is this, you can customize this thing, which is pretty cool. Like you can put your client's name and deliver one-to-one experiences, which I think is pretty neat, the one-to-one experience. What I also think that I would do is I have a couple where I take the client's name off and I would have them in my car. So if I do get a phone call to go meet someone and I don't have time to go knock one of these out, that I can actually go meet the client. Or if someone's talking about the buyer presentation, I might be able to fire this thing over. Someone's talking about being a buyer, I might be able to fire over the paperwork to them, hand it over to them, drop it off at their house. Like, guys, there's so much power in with these different things and strategies to take massive, massive mind share that where you can actually help these people do different things. With that being said, guys, I do want to open it up for questions. We got about 9 minutes left. Any questions that anyone has around this buyer consultation and how to win these deals?
I don't have any questions about the buyer one, but I was wondering if you're going to be doing a seller one as well.
The seller presentation? Absolutely. I can do the ultimate seller presentation as I'm yelling it over to Elizabeth so she can put it on the calendar.
Good, thank you.
Thank
That's what I
you.
wanted to know too.
Yes, absolutely. You two are welcome. We can absolutely do that. Cool. I think that was it, guys. So hey, this is all in command. Like all of this is in command. The consultation, we can get the consultation out. I'll post that up in Facebook if anyone wants to take a look at it, or if you screenshot it or whatever that looks like. We'll get this stuff out. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and let me know if you guys need anything. Thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.